All right, we will get started with this update for tonight. It's going to snow tomorrow, allegedly. If you read some of the comments on Facebook, it's not going to. We'll see if they're right. I doubt it. But I do think we'll get some decent snow heading into our weekend. And we continue to look like we'll be in a pretty good spot for accumulating snow. The question is, do we hit this storm's full potential and get, most snow we've had in a really long time? That's still kind of questionable. I think this is going to be a really good snow event for us. Just don't know if it's going to be that good. And there comes a point when you get too much snow and you don't really want to get any more snow than what's safe. It gets to a point, especially when it's supposed to stick around for a while. I don't think we would want, over a foot of snow in a wide area. That's going to cause big problems as we get closer to that. So, got more people joining. We will continue to see more people come in. If you come in during the middle of the stream, I'll try to answer some questions, but you may just have to go back and watch the video there at the beginning once it's posted to the WITN Facebook page. So I don't think we're going to change much with this accumulation map. I think we're in a pretty good spot. Is it going to be perfect? No, nothing's really ever perfect, especially when we're talking about coastal lows. But for our area, for our counties highlighted, I think the forecast is pretty good. Now to the west, you see that dry slot area. There's still signs that maybe portions of the triangle, even down to Fayetteville, could get robbed of some decent snow. They may just get a little bit, and then it kind of gets shut off. Right now, don't think that's the likely outcome. I think it's a possibility, but I think we'll still get some decent snow pretty much area-wide. There's another area you can't see on this map, but the Charlotte area, would not be surprised if they get close to 10 inches or maybe even a foot in some isolated spots as they try to get into one of their best winter storms they've had in a long time. Josephine says, get to the point. So we will get to the graphics, I guess. We will continue to talk more about the storm as we get closer and head into the weekend. It's going to be really nice when we can see this storm actually on radar versus just what model data shows. That's the bad news with these storms that kind of spin overhead. We've got winter storm warnings across the state from North Carolina into South Carolina, even portions of Georgia, Tennessee, up into Virginia as well. Timeline really has not changed. Haven't had to adjust this graphic much. A few snow showers possible tonight. We do drop below freezing. Already feels like below freezing thanks to the wind that's starting to pick up. As we go to Saturday, snow may be slow to fill in for some spots. I think there'll be a few areas that have snow right out of the start of the day. As we go into Saturday morning, roads deteriorate where that snow sets up. But for other areas, you might be able to drive around a little bit. I just would not go far. I don't think it's going to be as dry as the last Saturday was, where the ice really held off until after sunset, and that's when we started to get into some better moisture and some better icing starting to happen. That really kept our amounts pretty low last week, and don't think that's going to happen. The storm peaks Saturday night, wind gusts getting close to 40 for inland areas, maybe even over 40 at times, 50 down at the coast, 60 out on the outer banks. As long as this low pressure takes off like we think it will, we will continue to see this storm system have a lot of activity with it. Snow exits early on Sunday, and then we get into the cold and wind, still continuing into Sunday night. Dangerous wind chills, -5 to 10 degrees, both on Sunday and on Monday morning as well. So we continue to see signs of everything coming together. You see the snow back over the mountains. You see a coastal low developing there off the southeastern U.S. coast. All this is going to come together for our storm system. That's why we kind of think there's going to be two areas of better snow, one to the west, one along the coast. Still see some snow around the Charlotte area already, even some snow over towards Asheville. That's kind of the initial wave that's going to be moving through. Now, we've been getting reports of snow north of the Triangle, north of Greensboro, over towards Martinsville area. Some of that snow's been reaching the ground. It's not a ton, but it's enough for a little bit of a dusting. I think I saw a picture of an inch of snow already reported in some spots with that band moving through. So some snow showers are possible tonight, but any amounts are expected to be light. And anything in our area I think is not reaching the ground. But you see that little clump of white south of Fayetteville, west of Keatonville. That might be the first round of snow that starts to make it to the ground. Starting to get closer to Duplin, Pender County, heading over to Jones, Onslow County. It's a light, but that may kind of be the first flakes that move through. This model doesn't have a ton of snow showers tonight, but I like what it does throughout the day on Saturday. So we're using it, but I think we'll still have some off and on very light snow showers tonight, and maybe even an isolated slick spot as well. So we will continue to be talking more about this storm system as it really ramps up, heading up into Washington, New Bern, Jacksonville. Saturday morning, expect the snow to be patchy. And then it continues to fill in through the rest of the day. And by even early as maybe 3, 4, 5 p.m., I think we're going to be under some pretty serious bands of snow in that area that was 7 to 12. I think that's where we really start to see the snow accumulate the fastest, where we start to see issues develop first. But if you remember on the graphic, we actually took out portions of the Crystal Coast, especially down east. You see that little dry bubble there over Beaufort. Meanwhile, the Outer Banks, 38 in Hatteras, it's showing snow, but that would likely be rain. And we've kind of dropped their totals too across Ocracoke and Hatteras because of this storm system taking its time for the cold air to get to the Outer Banks. The rest of us don't have to worry about dropping below freezing. We're going to be below freezing all day long. Really, Carteret County, maybe portions of Pamlico will be the only ones that have to go from above freezing to below freezing as we go into Saturday, really late Saturday morning. So if you start off as rain down at the coast, it's not going to last long. I think you'll be all snow as we start to get into the afternoon. So winter weather impacts, mainly in the major scale. It'll fill in just a second. Still think most of us, in fact, most of the state, kind of more in the major realm of things. If you remember with the storm system we had last weekend, we were kind of more in the yellow and orange. So this is expected to be more of an impact with this storm system. Is the graphic going to show up? We'll see if I can hurry it along. We'll go back to it and see if it fills in here in a little bit. But basically it just shows kind of what the accumulations show. If we get as much snow as we think that can fall, it's going to cause some issues across the area. Have cold weather warnings. That's another thing about this storm system. It's going to bring some cold air with it, especially if we get snow on the ground. Sunday morning and Monday morning will likely have both. Right now I think we only have stuff for Sunday morning, but I think a good chunk of the area will have some cold weather alerts. And basically what that means is, it sounds kind of silly, it's going to be cold. Yeah, we know that. But temperatures will be in the teens, wind chills will be maybe briefly in the negatives, down around 0. And then we do it all over again Monday morning, especially with snow on the ground. That's going to make things kind of colder. It's kind of called the ice box effect. That it's kind of like your freezer. If there's there's ice in your freezer, it's going to be colder as it pumps in colder air. So if we put snow and ice on the ground, then yeah, that's going to impact our temperatures. And that's why Monday we don't really expect to warm up. We'll try to get above freezing. We barely might, but even with sunshine on Monday, I don't think temperatures climb that much. I think it's actually pretty cold. So usually it makes our afternoons cold and our mornings even colder. Coastal flooding, we'll have to talk about this a little bit too, though mainly an Outer Banks issue, both ocean and sound side, 2 to 4 feet of inundation. Then you go to the Neuse River, things have been a little bit better there. Not as long of a duration as what we had with the coastal low back near Mumfest, but we do still expect that some long swell of winds, same direction for a long period of time. That's going to raise the water levels up the Neuse River, maybe even close to the Pamlico River, especially on the south side there east of Aurora. As you really start to get into Pamlico County, I think that's where we could have a little bit of higher water levels all the way up to the Neuse to New Bern. And hopefully it's not a big deal, but we will have to watch that as well. So cold just keeps on coming. It's going to be interesting. If you remember the first week of January, that was a whole week of above freezing temperatures, highs in the 70s, stuff like that. And then we started to get into the cold. It's been cold ever since. We have not seen a ton of warmth. And month ends this weekend, so it's going to be interesting to see what our climate logs show. If they show kind of what we expected, things would get colder, and then just how cold it ranks compared to January's in the past. Here's the graphic that wasn't loading. You see most of us in that red. The orange does kind of start when you go up towards the triangle. It's still in red, but that's some of that dry air that may be working its way in as we go into late Saturday. So if you're north of Raleigh, even portions of Durham, if you're up along Highway 1, I-95 or I-85, that's where the dry air can limit how much snow falls. Maybe 2 to 4, 1 to 3 up in that orange region. Everybody in the red, though, still has a decent chance of at least getting up to around 6 inches of snow, if not a little bit more. So that's a pretty substantial amount of snow for us. We don't usually get storm systems where everybody gets snow. It's very picky. Some areas, just watch their neighbors get snow while nothing really happens at their house. So this has the potential to be a really good winter storm for us. We just don't want it to get too crazy to where it's not fun anymore. People start getting hurt, lives are in danger, especially those who can't get out of their house for days. Main roads obviously going to be plowed first, then they get to the side roads, and if things aren't melting and everything kind of freezes, refreezes, you start to get a lot of ice, and that can kind of slow down the cleanup process. So, yeah, it's one of those storms that has a lot of potential, but again, around here it's got to be perfect to get 10, 11, 12 inches of snow. It does not happen very often, which is why this one, we're hesitant to say it's going to be the one that does it, but certainly possible, especially with the amount of moisture we have around and how strong this storm system is expected to get off our coast. So here's the accumulation map one more time, 7 to 12 there, really from Plymouth over towards Columbia to the southwest. And we may move this even more. I think there's going to be really one band that makes or breaks the higher amounts. I think a good chunk of the area gets 4 to 7. But as we go into the evening hours and the overnight hours, if that band sets up maybe more towards Kenansville or Kinston or Greenville, that would put more of you from 7 inches to a little bit more than that. So Greenville right now kind of in the 7 to 9 range. Maybe an isolated foot. I think our drifts are going to be kind of what we measure to see how high the snow got with the wind-blown snow. Dry snow does not accumulate well when it's windy, so it may be hard to really get a true idea of just what this storm system produced. But there are going to be some pretty high drifts, especially with the winds cranking Saturday night. But still probably one more update with this. I think we'll make a map for tomorrow morning. So Dustin and Jim will be in for that one. I think that'll kind of be our final map as we just kind of the things we think could happen. We'll have a better idea if they're actually going to happen, or if they're not going to happen. But the fact that we're getting moisture across the state, and some areas are already getting snow back over towards Charlotte, up towards the Virginia state line, north of Greensboro and Raleigh, I think that's going to be pretty impressive. Pretty good indication that we're going to be dealing with a ton of moisture with this storm. Near Beargrass, probably around 7 to 8. I would imagine, but you have the possibility for, you're kind of right on the line of a little bit less or a little bit more, but I think 7 to 8 is a pretty good number up near Beargrass. Someone said to make sure about your pets. Yeah, this is not the weather you want to leave your pets out in. It's going to be very, very cold, plus you got to get some snow. Now, if you have a husky or, one of those colder weather dogs that just love to be outdoors, they'll probably be okay. They're built for these conditions. The rest of us probably not so much. Someone said snow in Morehead City already. I wouldn't be surprised. There was a little bit of a shower offshore. I don't see much on the radar. We have a camera here. We'll see if we can find it. I don't have that camera pulled up, but if you see any flurries, we'll see how much we can squeeze out tonight. If you get a good inch, maybe 2 inches in isolated spots tonight, you'll really be in a good spot to get the up to 12 inches. I think most in that pink end up with about 7 to 10, with an isolated 11, 12 inches, and also an isolated all the wind blowing the snow around. I think that's going to really drive up some of the heights. When you measure the snow, you can't measure where the snow's piled up. You've got to measure where it's a little bit more flat. Even if, you may have lost a few inches from the snow moving in. Snow increases throughout the day on Saturday. For some, it could start up right as soon as we start the day. Others will have to wait a little bit for the snow to really start to pick back up. Jacqueline said, what about Down East Carteret? If you notice on the map, we've actually removed Down East Carteret from the higher amounts. Still think you're going to be happy with what you get. But I think the heavier band's going to move through and then set up to the north of you. And then that's where we kind of start to see things kind of stall out. So you're going to get some snow. It may start off as a little bit of rain, but I don't think it's going to be anything that's going to really, ruin the day. But I don't think you're going to see those higher amounts anymore. I think that's going to be a better chance somewhere between Morehead City, Beaufort, and Jacksonville and coastal Onslow. So Swansboro area. Anywhere around Jacksonville, I think you have a good chance of, by Sunday morning, waking up to at least 7 inches, if not a little bit more. New Bern, is it safe to drive Saturday morning? No, there will be some light snow around. I don't think you'll be snowed in by that point, but if there's some snow showers around to start the day, it's going to stick immediately. And that's when you start to get a few slick spots. So you'll probably have to drive slower, but as long as you can drive in rain, I think you can drive in a little bit of snow. Until it starts to stick and really pick up and kind of accumulate. Dusting of snow, it's going to be slick, but I don't think it's going to cause major problems. What about Greenville? Seems to be on the border. Yeah, we kind of put Greenville around 7 inches. Wouldn't be surprised if they got a little bit more. Wouldn't be surprised if they got a little bit less. But where that heavy band of snow is going to make or break the forecast. And right now, Pitt County, most of Pitt County, the more east you are, the better off you are for those higher amounts. Greenville's right on the line, but 7 inches of snow, that's pretty impressive. I wouldn't be sad about 7 inches versus 12. Will Duplin lose power? Probably not. We don't expect a ton of power outages with this storm system. We kind of think that most of the snow is going to be dry, and then we start to get into some windy conditions, so that'll blow the snow around a little bit, but usually wet snow, that's what sticks to power poles, power lines, and adds more weight. Don't think a lot of us see a wet snow, maybe the coast at first, but even those temperatures are expected to fall. As far as going out, you know, we don't tell you what to do. I don't like to preach to people about what they shouldn't do. Be prepared. If radar's clear in the morning, you want to go get coffee or breakfast, go support some local businesses. Go out if you can. But if it's snowing already and you're just not comfortable driving in snow, obviously wouldn't recommend you go out. But in the morning, I don't think it's a situation where we're just already seeing tons of snow. Maybe in a few counties, a little more scattered in the morning to start before we start to get through the rest of the day. But just be smart. If radar's busy, you don't like driving in snow, never driven in snow before, then probably should hold put. But if your county's dry and we're not seeing any snow in your area, you'll have a window. I wouldn't go far, I wouldn't drive, an hour or 2 hours away, but you should have an opportunity to go outside and enjoy part of your Saturday morning, but probably not all of it. I think snow really starts to ramp up as we go throughout the rest of the day. Oriental, you're in the 7 to 12. I'll leave that map up so everybody can see it. You're still getting a lot of questions. Got to learn where you are on a map. We have 25 counties, something like that. Every county has at least 20 to 25 cities and towns. It'd take a long time for me to go through the list. So you got to know what county you're in, where you are on the map. If you're in the pink, you have the chance of pink, purple. You have the best chance of some higher amounts. If you're in the blue, better chance of lower amounts. But yeah, people working at grocery stores, I'm sure they've had a rough couple of weeks. Had ice last weekend, everybody went out and bought stuff, and then people again this weekend for the snow. So I'm sure they've had a rough week. So yeah, thanks to all the grocery store workers. I worked in a grocery store in high school, and we still had to, we had snow on the ground. We closed early for snow, but it was still pretty busy. We still had to get to and from work in the snow. Vanceboro, you could see some snow in the morning, but things will probably start to go downhill late in the day into the afternoon. With snow being so scattered in the morning, I really can't give you a good start time for when we'll have snow. For some, it could be as early as midnight. For some, it could be as late as mid to late morning tomorrow. It's really hard to tell. It's kind of just where radar fills in. It's pretty random, kind of like summertime thunderstorms. There's a decent chance of a summertime thunderstorm, but you just don't know exactly where those are going to pop up. So, yeah, there are some forecasts out there that have a lot more snow than us, and not discrediting those who've made a higher amount of snow. We've had Jim, who's worked here a long time, and we were talking, and I don't know if there's enough time for us to get into those higher amounts. You got to have everything perfect here in North Carolina to get a foot or more of snow. You've got to really start snow early, start snowing really hard, and it's got to snow for at least probably most of the day to start to get into some of those impressive totals. And if that low that develops off our coast, if it gets too strong, it might kind of nudge a little bit more east away from land, and that would really start to cause some issues. But overall, we kind of expect some areas to get close. I think there'll be some isolated areas closer to a foot, but I just don't know if we have time for a lot of us to get up over a foot of snow. Notice radar, already a decent amount of moisture. You see some of that snow moving in from the southwest near the South Carolina state line. That's probably going to be the first really flakes of snow that try to move in. There's the Charlotte area. I think that snow near Asheville is really going to start to ramp up for them. I wanted to get to us. You still see a few flakes down there and moving into Duplin County. So if you're in Duplin County, let us know by the 11. Let us know if you start to see snow kind of pick up. with that band if it's reaching the surface. I think there'll be at least some flurries, but wouldn't be surprised to maybe start to see a decent little snow shower move through. Don't think it's going to cause big issues, but it'll be out there. We never forecasted 14 inches or more, so no, that was not us. Not saying they're wrong, we just don't think that's going to happen. But yeah, the most we forecast so far is up to a foot, and we expect probably most areas to stay below a foot of snow with this system. Someone said it's still snowing, sleeting in Moorhead. I'll go check one of those cameras here after we end this. We'll see if that's... don't doubt it. It's just not much on radar to support that. Everything's kind of... If you're seeing it on radar, you're probably just seeing stuff fall through the atmosphere that's not reaching the surface. But if you're actually down there and it's landing on you, sometimes what radar can't pick up, sometimes it can form above the radar beam and we can't see it. Moorhead City, Beaufort area, they're pretty close to the radar site in Newport, so it's possible some of that's kind of forming above the radar and we can't see it. Trying to get to many questions. Are there any shelters? I believe we have a list of shelters on our homepage at WITN, so you'll have to go there, and I don't know any off the top of my head, but I think most communities will at least have some type of shelter. Most counties somewhere will have some type of shelter for people, usually when it's cold. I know Washington does, I know Greenville does, but I'm sure other areas do as well. Yeah, if we get a ton of snow, you might be able to build an igloo. This is going to be, if you want just more snow than you know what to do with, this is the opportunity for it. Just got to see if it delivers. I do like that moisture is already showing. You even see a little bit there, Jacksonville, and down towards Beaufort as well. But the radar I'm looking at, just don't know. It's probably pretty light if anything is reaching the surface, but I wouldn't be surprised. I think we're just a couple more hours away from a lot of us starting to see radar fill in, especially with that batch southwest of Kenansville. I think that's going to be the best round of snow that's going to be moving through. Yeah, Skylar, if you're around, if you're borderlining some of those areas that could see more than 7 inches of snow, it's possible. We got you, if you're on kind of the line there, we think probably right around 7 inches. But it's possible you could get more, it's possible you get less. All this is about battle zones and where the heaviest snow sets up. You're not going to get a band of snow over the entire area that's going to produce the higher amounts. It's going to be like a line, a swath of higher amounts, or little pockets of higher amounts. So if you're right on the line like Greenville and Kinston, it's possible you get over 7 inches. We just don't have a ton of confidence to kind of move that line any further west. But we might in the morning. We still have about one more update from this before we kind of set the forecast in stone. So we'll have that on the morning show. Might even have a little bit in the 11 here coming up in about an hour, 9:53. Alex says he sees it with his eyes. It's light though, so I believe it. If Alex sees it, I believe it. Could be a little bit, but nothing that's going to cause any issues. Bertie, you're going to be probably in the 4 to 7 range. I don't think you'll be. For an eastern Bertie, maybe you get closer to or over 7 inches. But right now, I think we have you below that line. I know everybody's excited about the snow. No kids are excited about the snow. This would have to be something that just, something goes horribly wrong for us to not see some higher snow amounts. Now, I think it's possible, especially with that dry air trying to creep in out of the triangle. Maybe there's spots that don't get as much as they'd want, but this is a really good chance. It doesn't get much better than this for us to see widespread high snow totals that we don't usually get all the time. So it's definitely one of those events. We hope for the best. Data's there. There's a ton of moisture, a ton of cold. We don't have to wait for the cold to get here. The cold's going to be dropping throughout the day. So really looking forward to this one. But yeah, obviously sometimes things just don't go to forecast. It's the atmosphere. It's very hard to forecast, especially here east of the mountains. But we're feeling pretty good about this one. We think we're at least going to get into some of those low amounts that we have. And 4 to 7 inches, that's what we end up area-wide. That's still a really good snow event for us. How about Maury? Maury shout out. Don't get to shout out them very much. Probably 4 to 7. I don't think you'll get much more than 7. I think that's probably your best bet. Newport, you're kind of right on the line of seeing some higher totals or seeing some lower totals. I think you'll at least get 4 or 5 inches, if not a little bit more there. I might have to go a little bit more north to find the higher snow totals there through the rest of the area. So, how long will the snow stick around? Problem is, we're not getting warm anytime soon. Now, we do get above freezing next week, but the more snow we have on the ground, the longer it's going to take for that to melt. They kind of create their own atmosphere. If you have 3 to 6 inches of snow or more than that, like some spots could get, that's going to keep your temperatures a lot colder than kind of what model data thinks is going to happen. So even though we try to get into the 40s by Tuesday with snow on the ground, I think we'll barely get to freezing, probably won't get to above freezing in some spots on Monday. So no melting Sunday, not much, and probably not much on Monday either. Wouldn't be Tuesday till we start to melt. If we have a lot of snow to melt, it's going to take some time, especially the Tuesday night. We expect that rain to really start to return. Wednesday looks a little on the wet side, so maybe that'll help start to slush things up to where it's easier to plow. But would not expect, many things to be open on Monday, maybe even Tuesday. Hopefully by the middle of the week, things start to go back to normal, but it could be longer, just depending on how much falls and how quickly we can get it cleaned up before it starts to ice over. Once snow turns to ice, it's really hard to scrape off the ground. All right, we will have the latest coming up at 11. I'm going to go look over some more data, see if we need to make any changes. Don't think we need to make any changes. I think we're pretty good where we are. We really, when we make these maps, only hope to change them once, maybe twice. Today was kind of our second update. So we may have an update tonight at 11 or in the morning, so you'll have to tune in for that. And we'll have updates all weekend long. We're here through the thick of it. As snow starts to increase on Saturday, we'll get into more of it throughout the rest of the weekend. So thanks for watching. I wish I had a Moorhead City camera to kind of see if we had. See if I can find it, since we had some reports. I've got Bellhaven, I've got Greenville, and I've got Washington, but I don't think I have Moorhead City camera ready to go. But here's the last look at totals. We'll have more coming up at 11.